many years in Renaissance festivals, Crystal Stix has encountered many teachers who are naturally drawn to the historical connection of Renaissance. And we have made it a policy to place sticks in schools with these teachers, and we found from their feedback that benefits come in all sorts of ways. We get lots of letters back. Here's one that we've gotten not so long ago from a behavioral aide in Richmond, Virginia, where she points out the benefit that Crystal Stix have toward a problem that she's been encountering, and that is the hands of kids who play video games. It apparently does something similar to carpal tunnel syndrome. It puts stress on their hands in a certain kind of way, and from the hours and hours and hours of playing, it starts to have an accumulating effect. She said in some of the most extreme cases, the kids have difficulty holding a pen to take tests and things like that. The Crystal Stix address this situation simply because when you're holding the hand stick in your hand, you're pointing it, you're creating this tension, of course, but then you're flexing it, which releases that tension. And this movement with it seems to have a beneficial impact, and also seems to be able to compensate to some degree from this overuse taking place with the use of this controller in these video games. In Renaissance festivals, because we have so many years of being there year after year, we have the good fortune of seeing people one year and then seeing them come back a year or so later. In one case, a lady has related to me how she was going to have a operation for carpal tunnel syndrome, and then after using sticks for the previous couple of years, at this point in time, still no operation for the carpal tunnel because of this very flexing that takes place, which stretches those muscles. So I can't say that we have a lot of scientific information or a study, but I certainly do have some comments coming back from active users, and that certainly should give us a heads up that there's a potential benefit there. This particular teacher talks about a variety of things, but not the least of which is that the Crystal Stix becomes her own self-therapy, and it's one of the things the kids like the most. They like to get to the sticks as soon as possible. There is an additional letter that I've received recently from a school, Oak Creek Ranch School in Arizona. It's a short note talking about how their school is there for ADD and ADHD kids, and how they have added the Crystal Stix to their curriculum to the degree that they have all the kids in the school walking around with Crystal Stix to help them focus and learn to pay attention and basically be able to function like a normal adult would be. I'll read briefly what they had to say since it's so short. It's just a letter of thanks from our school. We're a small Arizona school specializing in kids with ADD and ADHD. Most of our kids cannot sit still or concentrate for very long. Common problem. We now have 60 sets of your Crystal Stix on campus for our kids to work with. I like that, of course. We use them for physical education and free time play. Our kids carry them around school all day. Forget about the books, but they take the sticks. We found improvements in gross motor skills, coordination, and rhythm using the sticks. They love their sticks and want to learn more and be better with them. Some of our faculty and staff have had so much fun with them that they're purchasing them too, which is interesting, I think. Thanks again for the wonderful tools. The students and faculty and staff of Oak Creek Ranch School enjoy them very much. And that's George Ireland, the athletic director there at the school. We have found that the kids are drawn to this activity. The Crystal Stix, it's fun, and they just drawn to it and they enjoy it. That is one of the nicer aspects of the Crystal Stix, is that it is fun, and that's the glue that holds it together. But that fun comes from this successful series of actions that take place as you manipulate the Crystal Stix. Schools find that the benefits compound themselves, and they start to create a readiness of attention. Schools benefit from the Crystal Stix activity in a variety of ways. And some of those ways are apparent and some take a little longer to understand. Yes, it does help in the ADD kids and the ADHD kids, which basically means you're teaching them to pay attention. But for healthy kids and for kids with a normal capacity for paying attention, it helps them as well by creating that fundamental basis or that foundation from which their attentiveness has been trained and developed, and they learn to follow the line of action, or the line of the conversation, or the line of the thought that's going on. They follow the action. As a byproduct, when they're following the action, if something starts to change, they're there, they're quick, their reflexes are there, their minds are sharp. In other words, it establishes a very, very strong basis from which they can learn. It requires the student to get involved with the action, because not only are they initiating that action in the sticks play, but they're also reacting to it. Those two things in combination create this continuous line of action that just doesn't stop. It just keeps on going and going and going and going and going. That's where the training lies, because in order to keep it up, you have to increase the amount of attentiveness as the sticks moves increase in complexity. So teachers find that a student who gets good with the crystal stick will also be good at paying attention in other kinds of ways. Also, they're more emotionally leveled because the crystal stick activity requires emotional involvement. If you have students that you find very difficult to get emotionally involved, which is where the key to success lies, then the crystal stick activity could certainly be one of the tools that you could use to address that. In order to make it work, you've got to get emotionally involved. And in order to make it work dynamically, you have to get even more emotionally involved and totally committed to the action, because you cannot be tentative when it comes to this activity. It requires this constant level of participation and commitment to the action. So those benefits are great. And when examined, they actually open up a whole area that wasn't quite so visible before that, and that is that there's fundamental developmental qualities associated with the stick activity. If you follow a program with the stick activity, then those fundamental benefits can be amplified and made greater. Students who start to play with the crystal sticks find some very fundamental things that are taking place for them on a most personal basis. One of those things deals with the sphere or area of competence. Your competence, your capacity to act and make happen in the world is fundamentally established by the crystal stick activity. Your confidence is a direct reflection of how much competence you have. So, as the student plays and develops with the crystal sticks, it adds an emotional area of competence to their lives. And that area of competence, you could call it a zone of the ability to make real actions that they both initiate as well as react to. The actions that they initiate require a reaction, and that reaction has to go to another place, which requires advanced thinking. Anticipatory thinking then will take place. A student will have to not only consider the action that they just took, but the consequences of that action. And you could see from that there are benefits that would come from that. The thought to think ahead quickly before you act has a benefit in the area of accident reduction. A person not only is more attentive, but because of this anticipatory thinking, they're able to anticipate problems and avoid them. Also, in the area of reflex motion, something can be falling off of a table, and the reflexes are honed where they could reach out in midair and catch that object. This happens because the reflexes need to get beyond this stop and think about it state to this look, be able to be cognitive about whatever the situation is and then react accordingly without having to stop and think. So it's this quick processing of information that is a function of the whole brain rather than just a stop and dissect the situation, which is a left brain function. So the crystal sticks then promotes this whole brain thinking, this whole brain reacting, and allows you to take advantage of the reflex response that occurs as well.